Well, hey, everybody. Welcome to Wednesday. Kyle's not here. I'm just going to go ahead and get that out in the open right now. Kyle's not here. He's still on the mend. That's okay. We wish him the best of luck and hope he's feeling well next Wednesday. And he can come back and we can talk about swords and demons and sword demons and demon swords and all that happy jazz. Hello, John Walker. Good to see you. But we can still have fun tonight. We can still hang out and have fun. Tomorrow, we're going to have a lot of fun because Heidi Gygax and Heidi Gygax and Eric Garland are going to be here. And they're going to be talking about their follow-up of Till Death Do Us Part. And their pretty darn successful Kickstarter they did for that, and they're going to talk about the stretch goals that they hit. Now you can still back it. I think you can still go on and put in some backer bucks if you want to back it. Again, that's my suspicion, but they'll clear all that up tomorrow because they've still got stretch goals that they want to hit. But the stretch goal that they have hit is that yours truly is going to do the first edition AD&D conversion of that module, so you'll be able to actually. If you backed it and you get the module, you'll get a PDF that is the module converted to first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. And I don't mean like, converted. No, I mean these 3 books and me and a manuscript. So that is a thing that is going to happen. And then next Thursday, prepare yourself because next Thursday, David S. LaForce, Diesel LaForce, will be here. And if you don't know who DSL is, if you don't know Dave S. LaForce, then you don't know your classic Dungeons and Dragons art. But that's okay because I'm going to help you out with it. Dave LaForce is responsible for so much artistic goodness from TSR back in the day, and we're going to find out. We're going to talk to him about his history, getting started in art, getting started at TSR, projects he worked on at TSR, things he's done since then, things he's doing now, and things he has planned for the future. And it's going to be a lot of fun. So, as I said with Errol Otis, this is the one that you get the one shot possibly. So don't miss it. Don't come at me and say, well, he'll be back next week, right? I don't know. But I do know he'll be here next Thursday at 8 p.m. And I'm very excited about that. It is a great honor to be able to talk to guys like Dave LaForce, guys like Errol Otis, guys like Tracy Lesh, women like Heidi Gygax and the artist Darlene, Jim Ward, Skip Williams, all of these awesome TSR vets bringing their stories and talking to us about them. And I'm especially happy that they're so accessible. It's like it's an honor for me to be able to do that. Now, you guys know how rarely I ever talk about metrics on this show, about what's going on in YouTube land, but we have picked up a few viewers. I think we're at 4614, something like that. I don't dare open the tab to look, lest my PC over here catch on fire and fall over. But Yeah, we're at I think 4614. So if you're one of the 7 or 8 folks who've signed up in the last few days, because I'll go over on other social media and talk about the show and how it's doing and what's going on. But if you're new to the show and you're not exactly sure what it is we do here, just look around. Just look around. We talk about all of this stuff. This is not like like I was saying. I was on T-Shirted Historians stream on Sunday, and I was explaining to him that I often explain to you because people often say to me, "That's a cool background," or "That's good studio props." Guys, this is a living. This, like, I take these things down and I noodle with them and I do stuff with them, right? This is not a green screen. This is not props. This is this is all real stuff. I take this down on a at least weekly basis, some of it, and look at or play or bring into a game or otherwise utilize. So when I say, old school gaming, I'm not like, did you know you got dice and a crayon in Dungeons and Dragons sets back in the 1980s? I mean, we dig into this stuff, right? Knife and a fork. We go through this stuff all the time. We reference things around here. And I have the smartest audience in tabletop RPG live streaming old school first edition AD&D YouTube, which granted is an increasingly narrow window. They were horrible dice, John. I still have some knocking around here, but they were terrible. The dice that came in the home set that you still see to this day, the ones that are still intact, those were high impact plastic. The like soft as your fingernails plastic of the dice in the basic sets were just awful. But anyway, to move on. So this is what we do, and what we do to celebrate what we love around here. Again, if you're new, if you're not new, well, this is not news to you, but I'm going to tell it anyway. Greetings, John Stewart Keller. We have a gaming con. We have all of those things: the stutters, the stammers, the works. The Great Underground Online Gaming Convention, or GWOC. And this year, GWOC 2 is set up to be a doozy of a convention. Look, do we have guests? Absolutely. Tracy Lesh will be on Artist Alley on Saturday afternoon. You'll be able to buy merch. Get a beer stein, get a coffee mug, get a glass, get prints. Purchase signed prints from Tracy Lesh. Tracy, I invented the Mind Flayer Lesh. Okay, that Tracy Lesh. So yeah, he'll be here. We have 2 main and 2 supporting sponsors. I mean, all the sponsors support, but by supporting sponsors, I mean people who don't necessarily have like massive businesses. But Frog God Games is a sponsor. They provided some awesome free swag. And guess what? Hellebarde Games, who are the sponsors of this live stream also. Hellebarde Games is sponsoring. And we have got a ton of free stuff. So if you've signed up, then you've got a really good chance of getting some cool stuff. Doomsword Deathmaster, who is a super fan of the show, I mean, capital S, super fan of this show. Doomsword Deathmaster is running a first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons tournament with cash prizes. I said that we had two supporting sponsors of the convention, guys. That is the Dungeon Minister, who has done merch. We've got merch. You can go to spring.com and look up the Dungeon Minister and find actual merch that he's got for the convention and the previous convention. And of course, Jack Photon is our other sponsor, and Jack has donated some beautiful pieces of art and some homegrown AD&D book supplements. Guys, don't miss out on this. Don't sleep on this, my friends. There's a small number of you, and there's first of all, there's enough free giveaways that I'm pretty sure everybody's going to get something free. Second of all, the prizes that Jack has given, there's a pretty good chance you could win one. We've got a small enough group. I don't agree with you, John. I think Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition is lots of fun. You have to temper what you are after, though. Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is a very, very European fantasy. It is Europe from about 1175 to 1400, maybe 1350, with fantasy elements very heavily mixed into it. Thank you, Fuchsia. Oh, not the RPG. Oh. Okay. I'm sorry. My mistake. I was about to get up on my sandbox to defend the honor of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay, but it is apples and roof shingles, the difference between the two games. I said before, when I did bought it in England and threw it away when you got to New York, that is brutal. No, the Collecting Chaos, greetings. But Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay First Edition, as I said, is a love letter to original D&D, but it's a love letter to an older, more sophisticated woman that Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is too young to understand. She's mysterious. She moves in shadows. And poor little Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay can but walk along at her heels. As one of the free giveaways, an 8mm deep wheel socket. I need one of those to change your brake light. Vice grips, yes. But Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay kind of became its own thing. But it's not something that I want all the time. You know, it's like beef Wellington. A really good beef Wellington is delicious. But even if I knew how to do it right, like, I wouldn't have it for supper every night. But anyway, excuse me yawning at you again. Oh. But again, as you say, that's not what you were talking about. I have... How many copies of Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay do I have? They're around here somewhere. I thought they were... I have 2. I sold my softback first edition So I have 2 hardback first editions now. Hello, Trace. Yeah, Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay is it's funny because as complicated as the characters are, you might think that it's very much about character optimization with career exits and so on, but it's not, because almost all of that stuff is randomly chosen. You don't get to optimize it. John Walker wants to see people play Steve Jackson's Tune. That is always a game that I looked at from afar. People said it was great. I never tried it, and I feel less for not having done. Exactly, Collecting Chaos. I don't want to play a Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay campaign more than like 5 or 6 weeks. I just don't. Like 5 or 6 sessions of it, and you're probably dead by that point anyway, just because that's what it is. But you know what? It isn't. You know what Warhammer Fantasy Roleplay isn't? It isn't me have stick. That's right. The role-playing game they said shouldn't be written. Invented, conceived, discussed, and created in this very live stream, the role-playing game Me Have Stick is now available. 15 copies, 13 copies you can buy of Me Have Stick. Autographed, $11. Not autographed, $10. So, Orbital Air, it is bsylvie@gmail. It's right there in the crawl. You can see it coming across in the call. It was last night, Bob. Me Have Stick. But currently there are 13 copies left in stock. Autographed is 11. Not autographed is 10. And when they're gone, they're gone. Me Have Stick will then be out of print. Can I take MO for stick? No, I need money. That's right. Me Have Stick work as either Stone Age game or Me Have Stick work as post-apocalypse game. See, it cover 2 genre. Ricky Super Chat. Ricky, want 2 copies Me Have Stick. No PDF. Me Have Stick only print. Me send Ricky large type version. So now they're only now there are only 13 copies available. Ricky, you want autograph Me Have Stick? So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, how many live streams? Let me ask you something. Oh, you may watch Discourse Minis. You might sit back and put your feet up and enjoy something like Critical Role. Bob the Dungeon Builder, whatever his name is. How many live streams? How many Dungeons and Dragons live streams? Oh, and Ricky, you got to message me your address, because this PDF only, or this print only, no PDF. How many live streams do you watch? where a role-playing game is invented and sent out. Not too damn many. I'll tell you that right now. Speaking of invented and sent out, I hope this does not cause my computer to catch fire when I do this, because, yeah, this PC, it's funny. It's been, can me have stick be LARPed? No recommend me have stick LARP. Police come. Up to you, me not responsible. But no, I got to mention something in seriousness here. I gotta take a minute and talk about something in seriousness. John Hugdahl, back in I guess February, purchased a signed copy of The Lost Crypt from me, and I neglected to mail it to him. He had to ping me a couple of times on Discord. Lux Armok want me have stick, not autograph. Lux no want Delver autograph. Understood. But anyway, anyway, John paid a lot for an autographed copy. And I was like, dude, they're only $25. And he's like, just send me the book. Now Lux by signature. Okay. But now I can take a mulligan and say that there's a week that I had COVID when I got back from GaryCon. That, maybe even 2 weeks. Because I could feel something coming. I was like, I have a little bit of con cred. I talked too much. And my body's like, no, you didn't, Captain. No money order, Krista Hersims. Talk friend, send PayPal. But anyway, it fell between the cracks. It fell between the cracks, and I didn't get him the book, and I just dropped it today. John, my sincere apologies to you. Your signed copy of Lost Crypt is on the way. Now, setting aside, Chris, talk friend with PayPal. Have friend send Delver PayPal. Delver send you book. That how work. Third party. But anyway, so I got John his book out today, but guys, I feel dreadful about having completely screwed the pooch there, and it was not my intent to leave him hanging out to dry. I never like to do that. And if there's anybody listening right now, if you didn't get a miniature, if you didn't get a beholder, if you didn't get a bugbear set, if you didn't get a set of the War Duke, then please let me know, and I'll check my Excel spreadsheet, and if I see that it's blah 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 blah, but it's not sent, then I will do my best to catch up with it. My empire has grown to the point where I feel like I need an expediter sometimes, somebody just to come back here and say, I need this, and this, and then they take it and they mail it. But anyway, so some people have asked me, am I going to talk about, and I keep kind of coming back to this. I keep sort of circling around to it. Am I going to talk about Wizards of the Coast's current 20% price increase? And I've kind of already expressed my views again over on T-Shirt at Historian's live stream. I've kind of talked about that. Me write number on Orbital, sure. What number you want? I write all numbers. You guys are going to be pissed when you get two single-sided pieces of printer paper with borderline gibberish on it. Okay, Orbital, I do that. Could I send it? I've tried. I've looked into it, and it's just like, I sent stuff to Mobius. Mobius bought some miniatures from me, some 3D printed minis, and it was partially my fault, but they sat at the fucking post office. But you know who's not unreliable? Is the sponsor of tonight's live stream, our friends at Hellebarde Games. Hellebarde makes the kind of modules that they'd like to play, whether it's Castles and Crusades, 5th edition, or the OSR. Old School's in play at the table with Hellebarde Games, and you can find them on DriveThruRPG or their website, hellebardegames.com. And right now they are clearing out their stock of in print, that's physical copies of their 5th edition modules. 10 modules covering a swamp full of mystery and lizard men, our caravan trail full of adventures. Use the discount code 5EOOP at checkout at their website and get 50% off your order of physical 5e modules. And I can tell you guys something. They've already got the Old School vibe, okay? You don't have to I can take the idea, but then I got to rewrite the whole module. Just, you got a little bit of conversion to do. That's it, all right? Hellebarde equals Old School. So avail yourself of 10 great modules. And at 50% off, if you bought them all, that would be like buying 5 modules. Think about it. Think about it. Are you missing something, Bob? I sent you. Oh my God. Okay. Well, I clearly owe Bob some Devil Face minis. I will get those done for you. Why don't DM make their own dungeons and stuff anymore? I don't know if that's a typo or you're legitimately talking like me have stick. You know how D&D is in High Gygaxi and me have stick is in Low Floridian. But anyway, I will get you the great Devil Face walls. Hello, Jorge. I by hook or by crook, I will get you the green Devil Face walls. John, I think that's a fair question, and we can kind of have a little bit of somewhat serious talk. Why don't DMs want to make their own dungeons and stuff anymore? So I think collecting chaos, a lot of DMs simply don't know how to make D&D adventures. I think that's a fair I think that's a fair supposition. Old rules used to spend less time trying to tell us what role-playing games were. How many times have you cracked a role-playing game book these days? What is a role-playing game? And then there's, like a 3-inch, half a page column, explaining how to play Let's Pretend. It's a few lines in the old books. The biggest how-to parts were how to run the game and how to create a dungeon. And I don't see that a lot in modern books. So that is to answer collecting. John, your answer is tied up in collectings. For us old guys, though, so many comments under the B2 run that we've started. By the way, if you're not watching that, every Tuesday night we live stream first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and presently the party of 6 is going through Keep on the Borderlands. Yes, you can make it work for Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, as we've talked before, but AD&D, or rather modules, whether they be for AD&D or Basic Expert or whatever, in my opinion, and I'm not getting on you, I'm not calling you out, I'm not flipping the table and we're Johnny Ringo versus Wyatt Earp here or anything like that. I think if you're really exceptionally talented at guitar playing, I'm going somewhere with this. I think if you're really exceptionally talented at guitar and you can literally just pick up a guitar or sit down at the drums or sit down at the keyboards or just start singing along really well, it's probably exceptionally fulfilling to do that all the time. I view, now, look, if you don't like Led Zeppelin, then this analogy, just put in whatever band. I view these works by and large, and I'm pointing at the module section, you can tell because you can't see book spines, just sort of white colored streaks there. I view those as the embodiments of the work of Gary Gygax, of Alan Hammock, of Dave Cook, and on and on and on. I view those at like Led Zeppelin at the top of their form. And I always want to listen to Led Zeppelin, even if I could strum a little bit on a guitar myself, or a lot on a guitar, all other things about me being equal, I would still want to put on a copy of Physical Graffiti, the best Led Zeppelin album, and listen to it once a week, like I do now. Just because it's that good, and it might inspire me to try a few things. I create my own stuff. Okay, I have run to date for my Monday night group in the current incarnation of their characters. I have run one published module. And I had a player once ask me, I was talking to her. She is the veteran player. You guys have seen her in the chat every once in a rare while. Nutshell Gulag. She's a wonderful woman. But I remember asking her once, and this was a year or two ago even, because we're coming up on 10 years of this Monday night group that I've got going. It's crazy. I said, well, okay, long term, let's say we keep doing this for a few more years at least. What do you want out of the game? And she said, one day I'd like to play in a purely Bill Sylvia adventure. That's what I really want. And I laughed because the only published module I have run for this part of that campaign group is Lost Caverns of Sojkonf. That's it. They didn't go to the Forgotten Temple of Tharizdun. They never went there. So in effect, I only really played Houses of the Holy. But when I told her that, she was like, wow, really? Wow. Okay. I thought this was all published stuff. And I'm like, nope. I just kind of did it. And then I kind of laughed and said, what I want is the ability to run you guys through the Giant's Drow and Queen of the Demon Webs modules. And she kind of chuckled at that, which I still want to do. But to me, getting to run those published modules is part of the Dungeons and Dragons experience because they are so essential and so key. Now, I do not believe that the totality of your campaign should be tied up in modules. That if you're dedicated to first edition AD&D like I am, that you fear the day that you'll run out of Dragon Magazine Adventures, Dungeon Magazine Adventures, Polyhedron Adventures, the 100 or so published first edition modules, that when you run out of that, you are toast. First of all, that's years and years and years and years and years of adventuring. Unless you're like, 15, and then it's a few years of adventuring. No, I think a steady adventuring diet should consist of a good amount. Sometimes you have to go out for food. It's just the way it is. Make sure it's good stuff. Make sure you're dining at G123 against the Giants. Take your breakfast at A1 Sleep Pits of the Undercity. A hearty holiday meal of B2, the Keep on the Borderlands. But I think there's maybe this conception, maybe it's not you guys, but I think there is this conception or misconception, if you will, of a dungeon master who uses adventure modules strictly and solely or you're out there and you're making a campaign out of stone knives and bear skins and sticks. That it's either or. You're doing one or the other. And if you're doing the one, you can never do the other. And if you're doing the other, you can never do the one. And I don't think that's the case. I think if you need foundational stuff for your campaign, modules are great things to do. Players will take expectations and conceits and beliefs and prejudices into and out of modules that will spark worlds in your imagination. You describe a room. It's an abandoned 30 by 30 room. There's a skull in the corner, scrap of parchment in the far corner, rusty dagger lying in the middle of the room, kind of pointing towards the skull. The skull's important. The rusty dagger might be important. Grab that scrap of parchment. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's just something in the module. Maybe it's something you rolled up on the dungeon dressing table just to flesh out your adventure. But now your players are cooking with gas because they think it's something, and you as a DM, it's incumbent on you to go, Now, the game is mastered by you, but not your players. However, never, ever turn down inspiration. Let me tell you, one of the great science fantasy novels ever written, is A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court, written by, of course, Mark Twain. He wrote that. He found a single muddied page of a King Arthur book lying in the road, picked it up, cleaned it off, read it, and gleaned just enough, the gleam in the eye of Sit, gleaned just enough information from that one scrap, that one page of a book, to sit down and write an entire fantasy time travel. What is it the kids say today? The isekai? He invented the genre that day. The idea of a man pulled into another time and another reality. Holger Dudansk in 3 Hearts and 3 Lions. Any of Moorcock's Champions Eternal getting cast about the multiverse. Lest Darkness Fall by L. Sprague de Camp. And to a lesser extent, all that's more of a planetary romance, the John Carter of Mars books. The main characters in Quag Keep, exactly, Bob. Now you know what I'm talking about. But the point is, he found a single page and spun off something that started an entire genre. Your players will drop those pages in your campaigns, even if you're using modules. I have known dungeon masters to construct campaigns where the Temple of Chaotic Evil in B2 has ties all the way through to the Temple of Elemental Evil and beyond, across time and space. And I think a good dungeon master will understand that in these modules, there's untold gold. Now, look, we can dislike the presentation of them all we want, but look at Tales from the Yawning Portal. All right, Tales from the Yawning Portal has G123 in it, and Tomb of Horrors, and Lost Caverns of Sojkamp. All right, and it's a 5th edition product. They have reprinted those modules over and over. And if people as purblind, as dense, as ignorant, and ham-fisted as Wizards of the Coast can look at those classic modules and go, we got to do Tomb of Horrors. It's just every edition of D&D we got to do Tomb of Horrors for. Then there's something to them. Don't step over dollars looking for dimes. And particularly if you're starting to feel a little bit of DM burnout and it's coming from, I just keep rolling stuff up at random week in and week out. A module can be the perfect braincation that you need to make your game start to pop again. Yang Yan Zhao, good to see you. Antonio, greetings. That sounds like a hell of a good Boot Hill adventure, Antonio, actually. But there's no reason to say I will never DM a module. And it drives me up the wall. It makes me like, I just grit my teeth when I see people say, yeah, I'm going to run Temple of Elemental Evil, but it's set in Forgotten Realms. Yeah, I'm going to run against the Giants, but it's set in Dragonlance. That's like sandpapering my teeth. Just like, But if it works for you, it works for you. And I feel like regardless of where you're getting your inspiration and how you're using the modules, don't dismiss them just because they're prepackaged, just because they're published. Mutate them, change them around. You know what I have never seen? Do you know what I have never seen in a published module? I've never seen a bad map. If I bought a module and I was like, this sucks, I guarantee you I'll look at the map and say, but the map is good and I can use that. Even if it's just the map. I mean, I played in some game a friend of mine ran like 4 or 5 years ago, 2 or 3, I don't know. And he did a really knockout job with the adventure. And by dint of memory, and this was some weird dying Earth game. We were all like humanity was gone. All right. It was kind of like a Numenera almost kind of thing where it's just like so many, billions of years in the future when, really long-lived cities are 10 or 100,000 years old, right? So nobody's talking about London or New York or, you go to the ruins of Los Angeles. The ruins of what? But the map for the adventure, as we were playing, I'm like, these caves we're in, do they seem somewhat chaotic? And he kind of laughed and said, yes, they do. And so I started paying attention and drawing a map. Someone else was mapping, but I was sitting there. I was listening on Discord. I was drawing the map. I'm like, yeah, these are the caves of chaos. I didn't metagame with it, but they're perfect example. Damien, I would never put Kinder in any setting outside of Dragonlance. And I would only put them in Dragonlance just so I could have some event where they were all killed. Haha, my Kinder steals your sword. My character casts Disintegrate on your Kinder. Yeah, I've seen some horrible stuff recently. Like, okay, so I'm gonna get on like, and I absolutely accept the criticism that may be thrown at me by anyone listening to this in the future. Because like it drives me bananas when people are like, "Oh, Florida, yeah, you guys are all like, naked guy riding an alligator, both smoking meth, jumps off and eats a dude's face on the interstate." Nothing weirder happens in Florida than anywhere else in the United States. Nothing weirder happens in Florida than anything else in the United States. We have what are called sunshine laws or full disclosure laws. Guy in Florida gets high, runs into a Wendy's, removes all his clothes, does something really horrible in the ketchup dispenser, comes in, cops come in, they taser him 4 or 5 times, and he gets involved in a brawl and tries to hide in the Frosty machine. Okay, the same stuff. 10 weirder things are going to happen in a Wendy's in Lower Manhattan tomorrow than what I just described. But in Lower Manhattan, it's going to be drunk and disorderly. Man was arrested for drunk and disorderly. If it's not sensational enough to make the post, drunk and disorderly. That's it. But I guarantee you stuff just as vile and just as weird happens. And it drives me up the wall when people are like, "Law, Florida, y'all don't even have laws down there." So, with that said, as an outside observer, I'm going to say some things about California. When I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I used to think that California would, like Los Angeles, California, would just be the coolest place in the world to live. Just the most awesome place in the world to live. Like, I wanted a California license plate to hang on my wall in my room when I was a kid, right? Just everything about it seemed awesome. Always sunny, mountains, and maybe an earthquake every now and again. And one of the coolest images from LA that I remember seeing was that the boardwalk down Venice Beach. You know the one I'm talking about, right? You know, you got the big broad sidewalk, you got, Venice Beach out there. And I don't know how long ago I was flipping through the news, and I've seen that view. I've seen it in the Grand Theft Auto games because they got it just about perfect in GTA. And I caught it on the news lately. I was like, you can't get onto the beach. It's just homeless, just tents of homeless people up that stretch of sidewalk that I remember seeing when I was a kid. And that makes me kind of sad. For them, for the people, That's all I'm going to say about that. Yeah, Fuchsia could send me you'll have to mail it back to like 1985. Now, if I have a California license plate, my neighbors will burn my house down. I'm just kidding, Fuchsia. I am just teasing you, my friend. That's why I started laughing. But anyway, to go back to the Kinder and how much I hate them. Yeah, Kinder are awful. I despise, I loathe everything about them. They're going in and they're coming out. After watching D&D, looking at Damien's post here. After watching D&D lore channels focusing on the various settings, I've learned to distrust Kinder and gnomes. Kinder for their absent-minded stealing, and gnomes for violating the Geneva Convention. I just got to type this and stick it up there. But anyway, yes, my wife's kitty cat has found her way onto my lap because I crossed my legs, and now she's like, ooh. Well, I will tell her that you want to hold and pet and squeeze her. There's something else. Oh, yeah. Now, with everything I've just said in the defense of modules, I hate, I cannot stand it. If you guys didn't pick this up when I was talking about N1 against the Cult of the Reptile God, oh wow, yeah, I do not like railroad modules, Sam. I am, and this is I've said this before. Dragonlance is, if the characters are playing these characters, those characters have to survive. Make sure that happens, Dungeon Master. If the characters are playing their own characters, the main characters are the main characters. Your characters are not the main characters. So try and find something for them to do. And then in the Forgotten Realms books, it's like, well, let the party bumble around for a bit, but if they get too lost, just have Elminster show up and show them the thing. So yeah, I'm just not crazy of that whole setup that came in later D&D modules, and it was because the thrust TSR. This was literally something that Lorraine Williams considered back in the day. She thought about license spinning off Dungeons and Dragons game, basically TSR games, like. We'll let somebody else make the RPGs and worry about all of that and succeed or fail or whatever. We're just going to become a fantasy novel publishing house. There won't be, we'll be TSR, but we'll publish fantasy novels. Well, that's just fascism chaos. If I can't chain my alligator to a fire hydrant, then this country is doomed. We're going to fall like Rome did within a matter of weeks now. But anyway, yeah, just this idea that, and the adventures that the writers were pushed to make was that not to make the game accessible through the modules, but to make, or rather not to make the books accessible through the game, but to make the game accessible through the books. And the assumption was everybody wanted to play a Drizzt. Everybody wanted to fly around on a dragon. Everybody wanted to meet Elminster and have a good kinder buddy friend. And so it just kind of became this, self-perpetuating cycle. I mean, early D&D, there she go. Bye-bye, kitty. Early D&D, if you played the game, you probably had a love of American style and European style high fantasy. And you could sit there and from any altitude, you could view D&D, and you could see the building blocks of The Lord of the Rings, Three Hearts and Three Lions, Conan the Barbarian, Elric of Melniboné, Fafhrd and the Grey Mouser, John Carter of Mars, The Face in the Frost. The list just goes on and on and on and on. Appendix N1, or Appendix N, right? But there was a break point where Dungeons and Dragons became a self-sustaining fusion cycle. It no longer needed the outside energy. Yeah, Fafhrd. It was no longer required. Dungeons and Dragons became its own self-referential fantasy. It became a Mobius strip. There was no longer a consideration by players that, certain spells and locations and names and major NPCs might have come from somewhere. They came from within Dungeons and Dragons. And the net result is, I think that D&D became weaker for not having that outside energy constantly being understood and cycled. Its convective cycle ended, and it is now fusing helium and heavier elements, which is why it began to shrink. In the 90s. And if you understand stellar mechanics, you'll know the same things happen to stars. They start running out of fuel and they start to shrink before they begin to swell back up. But that swelling is because they're losing mass and they're blowing off their outer layers, which is what happened to TSR. It swelled up and it became bloated. You know, you had Dallas, the role-playing game, Rocky and Bullwinkle, the party role-playing game. You had so many things like that. And as these outer layers flew off, Wizards of the Coast, sitting back watching this star system die, realized that the nebula that would be left would give birth to a new star, and they would move in and colonize the first planet around it, which is what they did. So that's my 2 cents about what happened to modules. I get it. Like if you came into D&D in 2nd edition or 3rd edition, or 4th or 5th, and you're like, I don't understand why you'd play with modules, man. I completely understand. And I even know some fellow grognards who are like, yeah, I follow the Gygaxian Edict. I'm not going to let you do my thinking for me. Did you know that Florida law forbids rats to leave ships docked in Tampa Bay? That is correct. The onus is not on the rats, however. It's an oddly worded law. The onus is on the ship masters. If you have rats on your ship and they're observed leaving your ship and entering the port of Tampa Bay, then you're in big trouble, because we don't want rats in Florida. Here's a fun, this just talking about stars kind of made this pop into my head. And I just wanted to mention this. I found this out. In the early days of the universe, there used to be something called black hole stars. And I know what you might be thinking. Oh, yeah, stellar mass that collapses into a black hole. Not so. There is a brief period in the history of the universe when enough mass could accrete at the center of a star that the core would become a black hole. But it was held in check from growing by the immense pressure of the star around it. And because so little matter in the universe was solidified, it was just the hot plasma soup. It was all concentrated in bodies like that. So you could have a star whose core was a supermassive black hole, an unbelievably strong black hole, but with enough matter sitting on it that you would see a normal star. Normal. Anyway. Hello, Halsey. I haven't seen you around in a while. I hope you're doing well. You guys, last week or week before, heard me mentioning Eric. I know Halsey from the same era. I don't know Halsey, but we've hung around. We played some Left 4 Dead together every now and again, right? I've heard Halsey's voice exactly one time in one word. He went on Vox when we were playing Left 4 Dead one night and said hello, and that was it. That just, like, every other communication with him has been through the keyboard. Not complaining, just saying. Yeah, John Michael Gaudier's channel is really good, but he's fallen into this 8 interesting facts about the Fermi paradox. Number 8. I'm like, John, you can talk about shit other than the Fermi paradox. We get it. It's weird that there's not other beings out there that we've contacted. John, talk about something else. Comets, planetesimals, the Oort cloud, binary or trinary stars, possibly inhabitable systems. You're stuck, John. Snap out of it. Let's see. Wife's run several. Yeah, your wife's quite the dungeon mistress, isn't she? And that sounded horrible the minute I said it, Trace. I'm so sorry. Your wife is quite the avid runner of Dungeons and Dragons games. There, that's moderately better. So you're both right. Oh, just unsubscribe. I'm going to try and look at my channel dashboard. If I fall off the internet, because I want to see here how we're doing. Yeah, 4614. That's our current numbers. And now let me close that tab. I always thought Strad sounded like the bad guys from Boston. House of Strad. He's from Worcester. House of Strad over in Worcester. Do the old school DMs agree when you put a portable hole in a bag of holding, you get a temporary black hole? I mean, I think, I mean, if I was going to say X is a black hole in the D&D universe, it would be the sphere of annihilation. It's interesting, and I don't know if Gary maybe glanced at an article in Scientific American or something like that, or heard In Search Of talking about it back in the day, but I feel like the sphere of annihilation is probably the closest thing to a black hole in D&D, a micro black hole in D&D. Physics-wise, it tends to follow it. Like, you are utterly destroyed, all right? Your information is no longer retrievable if you touch a sphere of annihilation. Whatever cosmic primal force that exists in the universe of Greyhawk or wherever spheres of annihilation are, the event horizon is held at the surface point. And there's no accretion disk, right? There's no hot torus of plasma around it, which would kind of make them even neater. But the portable hole into a bag of holding that becomes a wormhole. A bag of holding is a set indentation. It is a minor vector in space-time. Putting another vector in on top of that pops it out the other side, and then you have a wormhole, which is why you get stuff pulled in and, you know, everything in a certain radius, and you pop out somewhere else in the universe. A purple wormhole. Yeah, there you go. So that is my take on it. That is also why I was talking to my buddy, this is ages ago, Lance Havermail, about a party that like literally they paused one night and the next night they were going to be like, okay, we're going to cast Rope Trick and then climb up into it. And he was like, but they have a bag of holding and they also have a portable hole that they were carrying stuff in. And so I asked him, I said, okay, do you want it so that they die? Because you could just say they take it up there and it's bag of holding in a portable hole. And he said, well, no, I don't want it to do that. And I said, I used the vector comment. And I said, well, just the vectors cancel each other out and everything that's in the bag of holding literally just appears. Just right in the same the same little indentation in the fabric of space-time. And he thought that was a pretty good idea, particularly because they had thousands of coins and then suddenly they were just shink. Oh crap, now what do we do? And you had them pouring out on the floor, and of course they did the rope trick so they could climb up and avoid monsters. So that's just, you know, just a little bit your nightly physics discussion. Well, I don't know about a magnetar though, Jimmy. I mean, where is the so for those of you who don't know, a magnetar is a neutron star that has a basically an electrical charge that is inconceivably powerful. A magnetic charge. Magnet star, magnetar. Which sounds like a color TV manufactured until the 1970s. So where's the Zappo, I guess is what I'm saying. Like if you got a couple of solar systems away from a magnetar out there doing its things, and you're like, oh, let's check that out. That's kind of cool. You know, you get like an Earth solar system away, you're dead. You're dead. You're just electrocuted. They're that powerful. Would a neutronium golem sink to the center of a planet? Yes. Yes, they would. Neutronium is, well, I mean, we don't know what neutronium is yet. but it is probably degenerate matter that is left after a white dwarf completely cools down. That would take longer than the universe has been in existence. And like when neutrons or when white dwarf stars, stellar corpses cool down to the point where they're actually cold with a capital C, cold, background radiation, the metal that you have in a Earth-sized ball is neutronium. It is like a degenerate iron kind of material, and it's crazy dense, but it's not dense enough to keep compressing and trigger stellar fusion again. Anyway, that's all I've got to say tonight. I've kind of sputtered out into pop sci astrophysics, so I'm probably done for the evening now, guys. I'm gonna skedaddle. I got a lot of not pleasant stuff that I have to think about. That it doesn't have anything to do with you guys or the channel. Just some shit that's going on right now. But thanks for hanging out with me tonight. Tomorrow night, Heidi and Eric are going to be on the show. We're going to crack open some champagne. We're going to celebrate their hitting the stretch goals and everything. Thank you to those who super and bought Me Have Stick, which was, of course, Ricky Maru. Who else bought a copy of Me Have Stick tonight? See, Lux, Ricky Maru, Lux, and I think Bob Jester bought a copy tonight, but I could be wrong. I'll have to check. But thank you for those who bought a copy. We rapidly run out copies Me Have Stick. Copies soon no longer in stock. Then Me Have Stick be out of print RPG forever. Only 2 pages in Me Have Stick. Only need 2 pages. Wasn't it? Orbital, Lux. You see my email going by? bsylvia@gmail.com. Email me your physical address. Because Me Have Stick, no PDF. No PDF. Me see pirate copies in PDF, me get very disappointed. After all copies Me Have Stick sell, perhaps adventure module Me Have Stick. That only $5. But until then, guys, we ask the important questions around here, and tonight the important question, as always, is the eternally important question. It's not about neutron stars or histories of TSR. No, the important question that we ask tonight, everyone, is have you seen my owl bear?
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around. Some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle way off course? Make it as a toad all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.